Well, hey there. My name is Jeff Lysyczyn. I've been an artist manager in Nashville for over 20 years. For about 5 years prior to that, I worked at Warner Brothers Records here in Nashville. Along the way, I've done some marketing, I've worked in publicity, I was a staff songwriter at a music publishing company for a short period of time. Heck, I've even produced a couple of projects. More recently, I've been teaching as an adjunct professor at the College of Entertainment and Music Business at Nashville's Belmont University. Now, I've worked with artists from Grammy winners right on down to developing acts who have never had a publisher or a record deal or an agent or a producer. I've gotten my clients into deals with record companies like Sony, Curb, Big Machine, and even independents like Bigger Picture, Rounder Records, and E1. Now, like most folks who've been fortunate enough to have worked in the music business for a long time, I've sat down for coffee with countless new artists. Some of them I met because I saw them play at a show. Some of them have found me through my clients' websites, and still others were introduced to me by colleagues. Now, I love meeting new artists because you just never know where those relationships are going to go. Now, there are a lot of questions that I've been asked over and over, and for a long time I've thought about doing videos like this to address some of those questions and become a resource for young artists. Well, this is the first one, so bear with me. And since the quietest time I ever have is after everyone goes to bed at my house, I'm coming to you from my home office, enjoying a little nightcap. And for lack of a sexier title, I'll call these talks Music Business After Dark. Whatever. The first subject I want to talk about is something that I've been thinking about for a while now. And if you're a new artist or someone who works with new artists, hopefully I can shed some light on this topic for you. Now, whether an aspiring singer or band is thinking about coming to Nashville, or maybe they're already making trips here to write songs, or maybe they've already moved here and found out just how hard it can be to get started, they all come to the same conclusion sooner or later. They need help. Now, in the movies, there's always a manager standing next to the artist. Think about A Star is Born or Bohemian Rhapsody. There's always that manager right there helping the artist along in their career. So it stands to reason that a young act that moves to town would think, that's who I need to help me, a manager first. Now, they're not necessarily wrong, but they also find out very quickly just how hard it can be to get a good manager. Now, if you're an artist who doesn't have an experienced ambassador in your corner yet, whether it's a publisher or a producer or an agent, maybe an attorney, and somehow you find an audience with an experienced manager, well, that meeting may end with that manager saying something to you like this: buddy, you're doing the right things. Just keep up the good work. I've got my eye on you. Heck, they might even say something like, don't hesitate to reach out along the way. I'm happy to be a resource for you. Well, if you're that artist that in your hometown, everyone told you how great you were all the time and told you that you were a better singer than Carrie Underwood and that once you got to Nashville, you'd be a star in no time, well, hearing something like that from a manager might feel like a negative. It might feel like a pass. But the truth is, if you're that unproven artist, meeting with that experienced manager, and by experienced manager, I mean a manager who's at least represented one act whose name you'd know. Okay, that when I say experienced manager, that's what I'm talking about. Well, that's about the best outcome you're going to get from a meeting like that. And let me tell you just one of the reasons why. You see, managers make money by commissioning a percentage of their clients' gross entertainment income. Okay, let's say that again. It's a mouthful. Managers make money by commissioning a percentage of their clients' gross entertainment income. Let me give that some context for you. Let's say an agent that represents one of my clients calls me and says, I have an offer for our mutual client to play a concert at a big festival. And the gig pays $50,000. Well, if my client says, sure, I'll go play that gig for $50,000, well, as the manager, I'm entitled to 15% of that $50,000, or $7,500. Some managers make more than that, some make less, but 15% is the industry standard for management commissions. Now, managers commission that concert income, which in most cases is the largest source of income for an artist and therefore for a manager. But managers also commission things like songwriting income. If your client is an act that writes their own music and it gets played on the radio a lot, that can generate a lot of money, and managers commission that money. Merchandise sales at concerts, those hats and t-shirts you buy, that is income that managers commission. CD sales, download sales, streaming income from places like Spotify, all the money that artists make there, managers commission that. So knowing that that's how managers get paid, let's rewind for a second and think about you. You're that artist whose career has not yet gotten off the ground. Think about those sources of income. You're not making any money in any of those places. So it stands to reason that a manager isn't going to make any money from you while your career is at that level. So if that manager becomes the first person on your team, the first order of business for that manager is to build a team around you. You're likely going to need a record company of some sort to distribute your music and market it so you can gather up some fans that might buy a ticket to a show. And once you've built a demand for that, that manager is going to have to find you an agent that can go out there and book those shows so you can go play them. There's more to it than that, but let's carry on. It's probably going to take that manager a year or two to get you into that record deal. And then once you're in the record deal, it's probably going to take that record company a year or two to get that music out. And then once your first single is released, it may take the better part of another year to get enough spins at radio to make that song a hit. Now, once you've got a song that's popular enough that people will want to go buy a ticket to see you play it live and buy a t-shirt, aka you begin to make money and therefore that manager begins to make money, well, gosh, you're talking about 3 to 5 years. Now, that's a long time for someone who makes money the way managers do to work for free. So herein lies the conundrum. That manager that you'd really like to have that represents those artists you already know, well, they're likely really busy representing the clients they already have and those clients that make them a really nice living. And that fledgling manager, that beginner manager who might be super excited to work with you right now, well, they haven't yet built their Rolodex. There's an old man's term. Their contacts, their relationships. They may not have the experience or the relationships yet to be in a position to move your career along quickly. Now, that's not to say that it won't or can't happen. Personally, I've been the first person on at least a half a dozen artist team, and I've been super excited to go get them their first record deal, their first publishing deal, their first relationship with a producer, their first agent. The truth is, there's no easy answer to getting help early on in your career. But I'll say this. If you've really got what it takes, and you're really willing to work hard, and maybe the most important thing, you're really not willing to give up, well, then you've just got to keep trying to write better songs. You've got to get music recorded and released the best you can do on the budget that you have, and you got to get out and play that music live. I don't care if it's just you and your guitar at a coffee shop. You got to be playing that music for anybody that'll listen. And if you do that relentlessly, you will begin to develop relationships with people in the music business who will root for you, who will help you along. In fact, developing those relationships is probably a good topic for a future video. Well, look, there's a lot more to talking about managers, but learning how managers get paid should help you understand the position that they're in versus the position that you're in. So hopefully you gain something from this video. Now, since you're still watching, I wonder if you might do me a little favor. Subscribe to this channel so that you'll get a heads up when future videos come out. If you got something from this video, give it a quick like. Go down to the comments section. Maybe you've had an experience with a manager, or you've got some insight into this topic that would help other people that are in your position as well. My email address and my LinkedIn profile are in the description of this video. Shoot me an email. Tell me about a topic that you would like to see a future video on. And friend me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to be a resource for you. Anyway, I hope you'll stick around and watch future vlogs. And until we meet again, cheers.